to James went obviously off to England, and then the decision to select him and come back. Like what was
yeah, that decision was made a little while before he went back, but he was going back to set his flat up, get his dog over there. He'd booked his dog to go over and his partner, so they stuck with that, and he got across there, caught up with Jeff for a couple of days, and it was always part of the plan. It was a fallow week for us, so there was a window to do it. It's probably not ideal that there was a bit of travel in that, but it just allowed him to set himself up beyond these next 2 weeks. So I guess he could be free in just focusing on what's immediately in front of us, which is a very big challenge.
And the decision to start him at 10?
Yeah, I think it was really probably just around a change at 9 already, and so he's probably got quite a long-term relationship with Tate. They've gone back a wee way with the Reds, and so it was just a really an opportunity for a little bit more experience. I think it's going to be a pressure cooker. We don't have the luxury of being at home, of being at a ground where, last week or last game, Tane was at his home ground effectively, so it was a more familiar opportunity for him to put the number 10 on for the first time in a gold jersey. So, and James has done well for us when he's come off the bench or when he started. Obviously, he started the first game in South Africa and did a good job.
Is Jake Gordon still battling injury, or is it a tactical thing that wanted to be on the bench?
No, it's Jake trained this week, but we could tell from his metrics he wasn't quite. He's getting back to where he needs to be, and I think by the time next week comes, he'll be fully ready. But just to put him in a little bit underdone, I think in a game that could be very fast paced, just we didn't believe was in his best interest. Ryan Lonergan has been sitting in the squad for a while, waiting for his opportunity. He's super fit, he's sharp, he's conditioned in terms of fitting into the squad, and Tate, obviously big day for Tate, 50th cap, massively well earned, and so he's getting that start with James, which is another bit of, hopefully a bit of synergy that we were looking for.
What will you be looking from Lucan from the start? He's usually played an impact role.
I guess part of it was we lost Bobby Valentini, and that takes away a little bit of our carry. Even when he's been coming back from injury, probably hasn't really. Bobby's great, when he's got a run of games, and he's certainly had a run of games for us last year, but that hasn't been the case. So just to give us a little bit more in the ability to probably get a little bit of momentum, because Lucan, he's a big, skillful man, and it allows us also to put Tom Hooper back to the side of the scrum where he's done really well, both in South Africa and going back to the Lions.
Coach, what have you made of the All Blacks this year, especially considering your involvement with the team in the past?
Look, I think they're on the cusp of breaking things open. I know a lot of people will focus on the end result last time they played, but 60 minutes in, I was sitting there with Mike Cron and Tom Donnelly, two guys who spent time playing or coaching the All Blacks, and we're all thinking the game's in the balance, so unfortunately what can happen is when the game gets away from you a little bit, you maybe try a little bit too hard, or you take a risk that you wouldn't otherwise do, or you start to play outside the box and start to get a little bit individual, and sometimes South Africa did it to us. They just did it at the other end of the game. We couldn't believe those first 18 minutes in Ellis Park. We're 22-0 down, and we're wondering how to stop this green wave. They won the first 4 balls in the air against us. So I know how quickly they can damage you, and I think they just got it at the other end of the game, because until then they were right in the game.
if I could ask about one specific player and his importance, Fraser Mcright. What does he mean to the Wallabies right now?
Yeah, Fraser's great. He's a quiet leader in the team. Obviously, he's captained the team in recent weeks in Cape Town when Harry wasn't available. And, he's a good all-purpose player. He's actually quite good in the line-out. We don't often put him there or throw to him, but he is very good above his head. He's skillful, link player, and he's good over the ball. So, he actually, we find that he works well with Harry. They've grown up playing together, and obviously Bobby, but missing Langy, who gives us that carry as well. That, in answer to Jamie's question, it's a little bit of why we've got Luke Kahn there to try to balance that up. Tom Hooper is that big engine worker, and he carries well, but not quite the same as Bobby Valentini or Langy Gleeson or Luke Kahn.
Is there anything you can take out of the way the Springboks beat the All Blacks into this weekend? Or is there a blueprint there that you can?
We don't have the same people. If we could borrow Kane and Moody, maybe. Some of his aerial stuff was just freakish. Having coached the likes of Caleb Clark, he's freakish in the air, particularly above his head. You've got to get very high to get over him. And so, I think they didn't quite have him ready to go. So that's probably disappointing for us, but I'd be a big fan of Caleb, so it's great to see him back in the Test arena, and I'm sure a lot of All Black supporters will be keen to see him back in there. And so I think they have a set piece that is pretty formidable, and I think for us it was around survival against that set piece. So again, it's not something that we have unless we borrow a few of their guys. So that I don't see that in the rules. So we've got a lot of confidence in our guys, and one especially is James Slipper, who's hitting a milestone mark that is phenomenal in terms of Test match footy. It's 150 tests is incredible, and the thing I love about Slips is that he's still trying to get better. He's still working on his game to add a little bit more value to the team as best he can, and he is a massive team man.
Has James O'Connor been able to offer any insights on the Crusaders players of the 15 that you might not otherwise know?
Not really. Again, I think in terms of what we're trying to do, we're trying to just galvanise our own confidence and trying to play our own game and for the players to really enjoy their work. I think that's a really important part of it, because when you are enjoying working hard for each other and trying to create opportunity, I think if that's your major focus, then you can really enjoy your work. We've got to be aware of what the All Blacks bring. There's without a doubt, and again, having coached a number of them, I know how dangerous they can be. That's for sure.
Joe, it's been widely acknowledged that you've been able to get the Wallabies up to another level this year, but you've had two real signature performances, obviously the third one against the Lions and then in Ellis Park. What's it going to take for you guys to produce a third signature performance in the Eden Park streak?
Yeah, I think it's going to take cohesion, because you can't afford to miss marks and turn ball over and give the All Blacks oxygen, because they will damage you if that happens. I think probably some of the best rugby we played was in the second Lions test, where we strung together some really good play, put a couple of tries together, and there's been segments, I think, the back end of the test, the last test we played, the back end of the test before that, and so we'd love to get a better start. Personally, as a coach, I'm sick of watching, us getting behind and having to fight our way back, but I'm incredibly admirable of the manner in which they do that. So, I think against the All Blacks, you can't afford to give them that head start, because they can just keep getting further away from you, particularly if we start over chasing the game and start overplaying and the game becomes too loose. We like to play an open, fast game, and so do the All Blacks. So I'm hoping that it's a great advertisement for the game, and it's a competitive game. But we we need to start well for that to be the case, I think.
Joe, what sort of relationship do you have with Fraser?
Yeah, I mean, Razor's he's a guy I've known for a long time, and I mean, he spent time at home, and I've been to his home, and met his boys and would know Jane, and so I think we'll catch up and have a good chat on Saturday.
Do you stand by the comments you made in Foster's books that he was putting undue pressure on the New Zealand Rugby board for the job?
Not really the New Zealand board, and that was a few years ago. Probably where I was just seeing the impact it was having on Ian Foster and that accumulation of pressure, because whether it was mainstream media or social media or seeing his family, and you don't want to see somebody coming under that sort of pressure, and I thought he coped really well with it, but if there's anything you can do to release that pressure a little bit, you want to do it. I've known Fozzie for a long time, and being respectful of the pressure he was under, that was probably part of my response at the time.
And probably better than anyone what the Eden Park streak meant. When you were in the All Blacks dressing room, what sort of things were they saying about protecting the Eden Park record and the Bledisloe record?
Yeah, I think if you just about gave them a choice, they'd take the Bledisloe over the Rugby Championship. It is very much just the tradition of it. It's older and more ingrained than the more modern Rugby Championship, as much as that they certainly want to go after that, and they're in good position to do it. But I think the Auckland, last time I was on the other side, when the Wallabies came to Auckland, and I think the All Blacks jumped out to a good lead and won by a good margin, and I think they all just get a little bit more focused, a little bit more connected, and a little bit more combative. And I've no doubt that that's exactly what we're going to get on Saturday, that they will be highly connected and combative, and that they will have a real collective energy that, to suppress is going to be a real challenge.
So you have Coach Ireland against the All Blacks and now Australia. Is it the same pressure that you have been seeing throughout this time lapse?
Yeah, it's probably a good question. It's not something I think too much about, because I think, questions about me or my, I suppose, interpretation of that is a lot less important as how the players see it. They're the guys in the arena, and I'm a massive believer that as coaches we sit on the periphery of that. The guy's central to any performance, and the most important thing is their belief and demeanour going into a massive test like this. So, for me, I'll be watching. I'll be very keen that we do well. There's some special moments, but I remember the third test I ever coached. I don't know, must be 12, 13, maybe 14, a long time ago. We led 19-0 after 19 minutes against the All Blacks. We led 22-7 at half time. With time up on the clock, we led by 5 points. And this young kid, Beauden Barrett, made a break up the left-hand touch, and it got flung wide. Liam Messam treated our players like pinballs. I think he beat about 3 of them. I thought he was going to score over there, but he didn't. And I think it was Nuggie might have thrown one of the average passes of his career, but Nonu picked it up off his toes. I could have done with him knocking it on at the time. And lo and behold, Dane Coles gets an offload to Ryan Crotty on the other side, and he might have scored. I vaguely remember. So the scar's not deep, but I just know that's what they can do, and I don't think that that DNA has changed. I still see the same capability and the same people. As I mentioned, it was young Bowden Barrett who'd come on to replace Israel Dagg at fullback on the day. So, yeah, it's a little bit bizarre for me, but yeah, I think it'll be a really interesting day, and I'm looking forward to retirement. Really.
We've got time for two more things.
Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Andrea Piatti is the referee for this weekend. Obviously, you had that match in Melbourne, which was contentious. You had to clear, sort of had a meeting with the referee this week. Where did that end up as far as the potential impact on?
No, I haven't spoken to Andrea. That's the one thing. As much as scars go deep, you can't change what happened. You can only learn from it and try to adapt to what might happen in the future. I know that if we don't get our clean out right and we impact someone on the neck, that it could be a penalty against us. That's the law. So we know we've still got to be accurate, even if a decision didn't go our way at the end of that second test. So in the end, again, our focus comes back to ourselves. I'll see Andrea in the changing room before the game, and we'll exchange pleasantries, and he'll go out and he's got the whistle. So I will watch from a distance.
Coach, I know you've still got 2 tests left in your tenure, but have you achieved what you set out to do when you took over this job last year?
You've never achieved anything, because beyond your time, there's a guy who talks about turning the ship around, and it's about what you leave behind as much as what you do in the moment. And I'd love to see Australia go on and be super competitive at the World Cup, and that'll be beyond my time. So part of what I'm trying to do is set up a positive future, to get some enthusiasm, so that support is ubiquitous. It's everywhere that we go, whether it's on the Northern Tour, the Spring Tour coming up, just to make sure that we're earning that. So we're building cohesion, that people are connected to the team. I love the way the team interact with the community, like in Townsville. They did a great job. So that there's a whole facet of things that I'd like to keep working on in the short term that I've got. And they're a great bunch, and so for me, seeing James Slipper achieve 150, Tate McDermott is 50th. If Ryan Lonergan comes off the bench, to see him achieve what was a huge achievement for Ryan, and one that he's been patient about and working hard toward. There's those little rewards, I think, that keep you in coaching. Those rewards are sometimes not results. Those rewards are seeing people grow, support increase, and the enjoyment that the players get from the way they're playing.